Oh viewers, here we are in the same position we often get in. I was invited to come over to Summit Garage in Dudley and film some cars for sensible second-hand reviews, and they had something else that is not eligible yet for second-hand reviews, but I have been enticed into driving it anyway. This is a 2022 Vauxhall Corsa F 1.2 SE edition with the 99 brake horsepower turbo engine. Welcome to Contingency Reviews. So the Corsa F, i.e. the generation of Corsa that has been sold since 2019, was launched right at the end of that year, and I think most of the cars would have arrived in dealerships at the early part of 2020. The model was launched on 69 registration. Same thing with the electric version, which was confusingly bad for Corsa E. The Corsa E was also the previous generation of Corsa, as in this is an F, that was an E, and so it is F, Corsa F, Corsa E. No wonder they renamed it the Corsa Electric a few years ago. That came in a few months later. I actually drove one of these cars first in 2020, just before things happened in the world which changed a little bit. Basic engine in these is a 75 brake horsepower non-turbo 1.2 3-cylinder with 75 horsepower. Then there's this 99 brake horsepower version, 700 turbo. There's also a 128 brake horsepower version of this engine with a turbo. And I gather the new mild hybrid version has a 1.2 of 136 horsepower. There are also some diesels available, but as usual, due to controversial government legislation and all kinds of other reasons, we don't talk about diesels on this channel. So yes, many years ago I did drive one of these. It's on the channel. It's not a very good video. You don't need to keep driving the car. It's literally a walk around this new Corsa at what was new. Actually, the videos did all right. The Corsa E as well. I drove both of them, and I wasn't that complimentary about the interior of the car. I felt that you know, these sort of lesser 1.2 petrol engines for 75 and 99 brake horsepower models were reasonably good value, but the upper end ones in the Corsa E wasn't. This one, it actually feels better than I remember to drive. I definitely don't think you should go for the 75 brake horsepower version. I think that would be way too slow. By the way, that noise is my dealer plate rattling in the windscreen because I have to have this for insurance purposes. But yeah, the 99 horsepower is good. 128 is probably good as well. One thing I would say about these engines is they are what's called wet belt engines, and the earlier versions of this, and bear in mind this engine was introduced in 2012 originally, they've not proven to be the most reliable, so just bear that in mind. This car's still under warranty, so it wouldn't be a problem anyway. Apologies for the wind noise, viewers. It is a little bit dusty, this car. There wasn't quite time just to throw a bucket of water over it today before I took it out, but I'm sure that's not a problem for most of you. So yeah, so this car, I think, because that's so common, in 2022 this was the best selling car in this country of all. Because it just sort of blended the back, particularly this pre-facelift one. Maybe you don't notice the styling so much. I think it looks neat enough. I actually prefer the styling of the previous Corsa, the Corsa E, not the electric one. I just mean in the sequential alphabetical order that these come, the previous generation car. I think that looked better than this, but that's just subjective really. So yeah, no parking sensors or reversing camera on this SE edition car. There was a model below this called the SE, which had even less equipment. It still looks fine. It's just, I think with these sort of smaller alloy wheels and the lack of you know, fancy bits, perhaps this car looks a little bit too sort of generic. You know, ones with in a sort of maybe a brighter colour and a better trim, like an SRI for example, would probably look a bit better than this. But you know, if this is all you're needing, then perhaps that's fine for you. So we'll just open up the boot. The dealer plate is securely fastened this time. So actually that's a fairly big space. It's not too bad at all. We could get a space over spare one if we wanted one, which is what I would want, but you know, there we go. Boot light is there. There's no hooks or anything on that side, but there is one up here. Yeah, there's not really a lot to say. It's just a very standard type of thing for a small car like this. I think the Peugeot 208 is a little bit fancier than this, but it's on the same platform. Maybe, I don't know, this is a little bit more conservatively styled for the sort of typical Vauxhall customer, perhaps, I don't know. It's quite dark in here, but then it is in a lot of modern cars, so we won't hold that against it really. Electric rear windows, and also we've got we've got space to put a drink in there, which is good. No map pockets at all though, which is a bit of a shame. But maybe you have to, you know, get the SRI or something if you want things like that. No centre armrest, of course. Again, it's not particularly given in a car like this anyway. Doors are just sort of normal in terms of being hard plastic, which is absolutely typical for this sort of car as well. But yeah, it's fine. The rear is a little bit small as they are in something like an Astra J. I just move the headrest up with my back of my neck, so I just sit back. Yeah, that's all right actually. It's quite spacious in here for a little car. Although that's actually my driving position, so perhaps if I was sitting behind myself it'd be a bit more difficult. Little cup holder here. I think on higher trim level models you've got more things in the centre console. It says you get 4 cup holders, which is good, I suppose. But then again, you've got that, so perhaps you don't need all those. Nice and safe though. We've got sort of curtain airbags in here. I think it's either 6 or 8 airbags in all the Corsa Fs. So that makes you feel good. Right, let's get in the front. Right, I've got to say here on the boot is 309 litres of space. Okay, so let's put the key in. I've got a normal key in this one, which I'm sure lots of you will prefer anyway. Let's turn that. There we go. Okay, dial sweep. Brilliant. And the Vauxhall logo there when turning it on. In comparison with a lot of modern infotainment systems, Vauxhall have opted to not follow the trends of sort of their Stellantis partners, Peugeot and Citroën, and put the heating and ventilation controls in the touchscreen. They're actually down here, and they're more reminiscent of an older thing, like, I don't know, an Insignia B or something like that, or an Astra K. And that is, for me, that is an excellent decision. Very simple to operate. There's the heating and cooling, there's the fan speed, air conditioning is on, and there's the direction for the air. That's it. You don't need to know anything else. USB port is down there, which is good. Also a 12-volt socket. Lane keeping is just to be turned off with that button there, rather than going into the menu, which I very much appreciate. 6-speed manual. The 75 brake horsepower cars, they only have a 5-speed gearbox, which isn't necessarily the best. Normal handbrake, obviously you get more bits in here if you went for higher trim, but you know, that's probably fine. Is it got a really small glove box? Oh yes, there's no point in putting my secret documents in there, because obviously this is underneath a Peugeot 208 or many other cars based on this. I think it's called the EMP2 platform, and so the fuse box would originally have been set for left-hand drive, which isn't the best for people in this country. There we go, look at that, automatic lights and a very familiar looking switch. I think those are also is an old sort of Vauxhall bit, which I'm, you know, happy to see. It feels okay. I mean, the price of these cars when they were new, this one like this is about maybe £20,000, and it's competitive. It feels a bit less sort of premium than you think it should do for that sort of money, but then the market's moved on, and this is what cars look like now with this sort of price bracket. Let's have a look at the infotainment system. So it's maybe not immediately obvious what you sort of do with a lot of these things. There's the car settings, driving function, auto dipping lights. That's interesting. Also high beam. Wow. Tire pressure monitoring, traction control. Check. What do I want to check? I don't know. Vehicle settings, headlights, comfort and safety. There's not too much in here really, is there? Because this is a more basic model, but that's not necessarily a problem. And we have a navigation button, but we've got no navigation because we've only got an SE edition, but never mind. So yeah, what we would need to do obviously is connect to like Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, which would be what you want to do anyway, really, most people. Ooh, it's just not much going on here, is there? It's really not that exciting at all. I think the most exciting thing is Jeremy Vine on Radio 2. Different sources available on there, radio, USB, iPod, that kind of thing. I'm sure you get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto if you put your phone in, which you know, I'm not going to do today. Let's have a look at this display then over here. Hope you can see through this wheel that's set at the wrong angle. Common autofocus, there we go. Yeah, I'm pleased to see in this car we've got more sort of basic instruments. I think others up the range, for example, I don't know, the Corsa would have a different display. Obviously those cars are sort of in excess of £30,000, aren't they? So you'd expect something like that for that sort of money. But you know, dial sweep is good, which we saw earlier. Let me just get this ready so we can cycle through the menu and maybe adjust the steering straight. Right, now one of those own problems is you have to use this stalk here to actually do things. So if we flick through here, autofocus, there we go. No miles an hour, that's miles and miles per gallon and things like that. There's not really much more to say because I think you've got to pay more money to get a better specified car if you want extra functionality. And for a lot of you, quite possibly, you don't want that. You just want you know, a car, and this will provide you with it. Auto stop start is down there. You turn off the lane keeping assist if you don't want it. So open this door. Got quite basic looking controls here. I think they're out of the Peugeot. It's no surprise. For the electric mirrors and the electric windows. Very nice big sort of door bin there for putting a big bottle of water in. And then a little place for putting, I don't know, coins and things. Again, it would be nice to be that in an actual tray, but you can't have everything, can you? Right, I think that's most of the stuff in here. No sunglasses compartment for some reason in here, which is a bit of a shame. There's a big sort of compartment down there with the USB 12-volt socket. I suppose you better look at the engine. So, 1.2 3-cylinder, what I know is the PureTech engine, but I'm sure Vauxhall will call it something different. Generating 99 horsepower in this particular application. So cover on there, gearbox is presumably somewhere under the battery, so not maybe the best for home maintenance. But one thing I would say about this doesn't really apply because this car's still in warranty and it's 2 years old, but with the earlier versions of this engine, it came out originally in 2012, there have been problems with the wet timing belt in them. And yes, that can be very costly. If you are going to buy one of these, I would not stick to the manufacturer's recommended interval of changing the timing belt. I would change it a lot earlier than they say, just to be on the safe side. Other than that, still quite sort of punchy and everything. Obviously electric ones look a bit different from this, but this isn't a review electric one, so we'll leave that for another time. Anyway, I think we should go out for a drive, shouldn't we? Right, Vauxhall claimed that this car will do 0 to 60 in 9.9 seconds. Let's test that out, shall we? I had to rev it a bit higher than I thought actually to make the progress that I imagined. It doesn't seem to have an awful lot of power at the top end, this. Obviously that's what you get with these 3-cylinders. Often they kind of run out of puff a bit earlier than you'd expect. But it'd be fast enough for most people, this. Steering just is a little bit too light. I've driven lots of other cars, I don't know, like Mazda 2 or something like that, that just have better steering. Even the old G3 that's just been discontinued has much better steering than this. Obviously it was a much cheaper car and you know, some people started to say it's heavy, I just say it was good. Most of the time, you know, it's not the sort of car, particularly as there's no VXR version anymore, you'd be driving really, really hard and really, really fast. You can get the sport button on the GS or GS line, I think it's called, or Ultimate facelift cars, and that might make things a bit better. I mean, maybe I'd myself go for one of those because I get a bit more feel through the steering, although it'd be an artificial feeling. But yeah, it's nice and comfortable actually. You can actually start this car without pushing the clutch, which is unusual. I don't think there's an awful lot more to say about the way this car drives. It just feels really kind of normal and easy, which is, of course, if you want to make a car that appeals to as many people as possible, which I'm sure was the aim with the new Corsa F that came out at the end of 2019, but you don't want to sort of put people off, and there isn't really anything that will put people off in this. This 22,000 mile example that's been currently supplied by Summit Garage of Dudley is really good. They're selling it for about £11,000, I think it is, which is, I think, for a car with 2 years old that's done 23,000 miles, it's probably about right. Although I would personally go for one of these if I was going to buy one in a higher specification. Let's now look, viewers, at some Vauxhall Corsa F trim levels. So we have the Design, the Elite, the Elite Edition, the Elite Nav, the Elite Nav Premium, the Griffin, the GS Line, the SE Edition, the SE Nav, the SE Nav Premium, SE Premium, SRI Edition, SRI Nav, and the SRI Nav Premium. It's no wonder that with the new facelift, which came out within the last few months, they simplified all these trim levels down. I think it's only Design, Elite, and GS or GS Line now. I think that's all you get now. Because you don't sorry, Ultimate. Sorry, not Elite, Ultimate. Because it's utterly ridiculous. You don't need so many trim levels in a car. I think at one point there were 11. All these cars actually do get standard automatic emergency braking, lane keeping assist, traction recognition, and LED headlamps. If you go for a GS or Ultimate Edition model, you get a sport button, and the top engine, which is the 128 brake horsepower car, only comes with automatic transmission, which is a 6-speed auto DCT in the mild hybrid, and an 8-speed automatic in the standard one. So viewers, should you consider a Vauxhall Corsa F? Well, it's easy to drive. It doesn't look particularly offensive. It looks nice enough. Yeah, the prices are quite competitive. I wouldn't say this is the most exciting car I've ever tested in my life, and that's an opinion I shared 4 years ago when I first drove one of these. But I can see why people like them. I can see why driving schools continue to buy these in huge numbers. And, you know, I think, you know, at some point, my nephew, who will learn to drive at some point, might have one of these as the first car. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. But I would just be wary of those wet belt engines. Anyway, thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment below, and we shall see you again quite soon for some more last minute videos.